huge problem with the online beat selling space is PayPal chargebacks and just payment processing in general, because internationally it's hard to accept payments in various countries.
Everything that you just said, the transparency, everything, we have technology prior to Web3 that could have solved those problems. It's not about not having the technology.
Yeah, I got my privileges back. What's going down, everyone? It's the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. I'm here, Dame's here, but Erin's here. We didn't get any complaints last week, of course not, about her absence. So to start things off,
I guess people don't really like me then.
No, not at all. Why don't you fill us in on your amazing experiences? So at very least, we can justify your absence. And people don't think we're just hiding you to try to dim your light or anything like that.
I don't think that would happen. You guys gave me the platform in the first place. So thanks. Yeah, I was at South by. I'm still recovering my voice. I got back super late Sunday night, but it was incredible. I haven't been out around that many people since the pandemic. And so South by was the first indicator that the whole world was going to change for us, because they canceled all of South by. And I was like, oh, wait, something is about to go crazy. I don't think most people knew it, but when they canceled South by in 2020, I knew we were going to be in lockdown for way more than 2 weeks. And this is before they even locked us down. So glad that South by is back. Heard a lot of different languages spoken, met a lot of different people. But yeah, like, my whole point in going places is to see the difference happen in real time. When you meet people and you do things, life change happens. And I'm blessed to say that it happened again. I met so many incredible people, so many people who were excited about what my company is doing and what we're building. And then just people who we didn't know who were happy to meet us. And we also threw a showcase on Friday. We threw the only R&B showcase that they had this year at South by. So that was super tight. We hit capacity like 2.5 hours before our show was over. So it was the whole like finesse trying to get people in and try to get labels in. But it was a dope experience. I'm super, super grateful. Just for the fact that events and stuff like that are back. I'm grateful that I got to meet so many pleasant and incredible people. And it seems like the world is really shifting more towards humanity and compassion, because that's what so many people led with. That's what so many people were interested in. So I think obviously during the pandemic, a lot of people did a ton of soul searching, but the industry feels like it's moving at a different pace right now. And I'm really encouraged by it, because that's the pace and the energy that I'm trying to move with. So shout out to everybody that I met at South by. Shout out to all the sponsors who are looking forward to giving us money, and just shout out to all the cool people making their dreams happen.
Yeah. South by is a really dope event. You know, through my history running Funk Volume, like that was the event that I would look forward to every year. It's a great balance of like work and play. I've been to a lot of music conferences, and I'm usually disappointed by the panels, because most of the topics are shit we should have talked about like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But South by, and Aaron, you went this year, so you can tell me if it's still the same, but I feel like their panels are very forward thinking. They're like what needs to be talked about now. So the one thing that was disappointing, though, was like in most of the sessions, like a lot of empty seats. All the parties are packed. In all the sessions, a lot of empty seats. And I don't think that people are prioritizing the education. Of course, I want people to party and have a good time, but it just sucks that, you know, a lot of gems are being missed because people aren't getting up and actually going to the sessions. Is that what you experienced as well, Aaron? Is this pretty much the same thing?
100%. I went to 2 full sessions the whole week. I flew in on Saturday night. So I had literally the opportunity to go to sessions Sunday to Saturday, because they stopped the next Saturday. Yeah, so I went to sessions every day. I think minus Friday, which is the day of our panel. We might have went to one, but everything was empty. Like we saw Ashanti speak in a 500 capacity room. And this is not a shot to her. It was her and EQ Exchange, who you interviewed recently, Janice. There might have been 75 people in the room, right?
Wow.
But
that's Ashanti. Like that's like a big name artist. Maybe not currently, but you would think she.
But here's the thing: we went to her concert that night, 1,500 capacity, and they stopped letting people in even before she hit the stage. You know what I'm saying? It was like she packed for her show. And to be honest, I didn't even know about her session. My business partner, Brandon, was like, oh, we got to pull up on Ashanti. And I was like, yeah, tonight. He was like, no, she has a session. And I was like, yo, what? So I think part of it is that people don't read. Part of it is that people are uneducated about how the app works and ways to look through it and different things like that. Because even if you don't have a South by Southwest band, you can use the South by Southwest app. And there's panels that happen away from the actual conference center that you can go to. So I think that's one thing. That's something that we noticed, but we're working on that for next year. We're going to do a guide specifically for Black people, because we ran into a bunch of Black people who were just out at parties or whatever, even artists that we had on our showcase. And they had bands and they were just chilling. And I'm like, yo, what have you been to yet? And they were like, oh, I just been chilling here. I'm like, well, have you picked up your band? They're like, no, we know we can get into the show, so we're good. I'm like, yo, that's literally $3,000 down the drain. You could, one, be drinking and eating for free the whole time you're here. Two, you could be going to meet all sorts of people. I met El Fantismo. I don't know if y'all know Fantismo, but he's the biggest Latin, he's the biggest Mexican artist right now in the world, number one Mexican artist. I sat in a panel with him and maybe 30 other people in an empty room with Vidya, our distributors. They were putting on one about Latin music and Latin culture and its lack of representation. Went to that one, incredible panel. I'm talking about radio programmer for the head radio program for Sirius XM Latin, with people that you really need to and want to meet. Empty. The only other one that was full for me, I went to see Guy Raz, who made How I Built This. I don't know if you guys know Guy Raz, but he's been mentoring me for years before he even met me. I actually cried when I met him. And then the other one was one with the COO, I think, of Nike Women, and another guy. I think everybody thought they were going to be talking about sports and whatever. And they were just talking about creative thinking, but it was packed and they had us sitting in there doing a workshop and it was super fire. It was on the tech track though. So I don't know. I just think music people have to do better. Obviously, we're sitting here with an education platform, the MEC. I have an education platform called the Excellence Academy. And even though people attend and we are well loved, it's minute compared to the people that need help. So I don't know, it's frustrating. But if this is any encouragement, go get the knowledge. I met the people giving me all of my money this year, I met 60% of them in panels. And I'm confident that they're going to give me money because they were excited to see what I had to say, but they also are like, oh, you're in the right place. All the artists come at night and they, you know what I'm saying? You don't know who's who because everybody's just drinking and hanging out. You go to a panel, people tell you exactly who they are. And it's words to the wise, go to panels. Spend your money. When you go, the blessings meet you.
Dame, you kind of were expressing some frustration similar to Aaron's recently on Twitter, I think, weren't you? Saying something to the effect that there's so many artists complaining about lack of opportunity and this and that, but none of those artists are attending, even the free resources. And I had tweeted earlier this week, specifically for producers, but this applies to every creative. Every resource we could possibly want is available and free. Everything. 30 years ago, could we get free graphic design services? No. Could we get free panels with people who are actually doing this for a living and are telling us their blueprint? No. Could we interact with people we look up to? No. We can today. I'll tell you something crazy. this has more to do with producers, but I'm seeing this with everybody. So I'm doing an artist residency at the high school that I attended and graduated from. And now they have a beat making program. And so I'm in there, and a bunch of the kids are making, great beats at a higher level. One in particular is actually a BeatStars user and has thousands of subscribers on YouTube. And I'm looking at him like, one, he's way ahead of me when I was that age. And I'm looking at the general landscape, and I feel like the adults are the ones lagging because they just don't put one foot in front of the other. So many grown producers are scared or paralyzed, or I don't even want to use the word lazy, because I think laziness comes from fear, but they're just not doing it. There's something preventing them. And then you're seeing the kids just shoot past them. And we all have access to the same resources, to the same technology. So and maybe part of it is just being around young people, and that's just kind of good for your spirit, because you see how people who are that age are, their minds are more open to possibility. And then, I don't know, then we convince ourselves later on in life that all those possibilities aren't there for it. Because you don't hear a high schooler saying, "Nah, you can't make music for a living. Are you crazy? Nah, the industry is rigged. You got to do this and that and sell your soul and this and that." No, they're thinking about possibilities and having fun doing it. And that's what's missing from a lot of these grown-up conversations. And I swear to you, the artists that are succeeding now have, I don't want to use the word childlike, but they have a youthful approach to life in general, but especially music, in the sense that everything is novel. Everything has this magic about it. Everything has this excitement about it. The creative process is still exciting. Learning new things is still something they desire. Their minds are still open, and therefore they're growing a lot more, as opposed to an adult who's convinced themselves that they've reached the point that they need to close off all possibilities for letdown, so they're not going to try. All possibilities for disappointment or embarrassment, so they're not going to try. And I think that's reflected with the South by, because we can't blame all that on the app, I'm sure. And I used to go to South by every year religiously, but yeah, the concerts were better promoted. People would go out late, then sleep in and miss the damn panels. I think organizationally there could be some changes made, but you can't blame that 100%. That might account for like 20% of the drop in attendance, but a lot of it is people just saying, "Nah, I'm just here to turn up and blah, blah, blah." And then they go home and they're like, "Why didn't I network? That didn't feel productive," and this and that. I'm like, it's about the approach. We have a choice.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like networking, you increase your chances tenfold when you get an opportunity to make impression in person. So, all the stuff that we do online, shooting DMs, that's great, getting on Zooms, having conversations. But in person, if you can make an impression, that's going to stick with people, because we don't get that opportunity as many times today. So if you miss those opportunities, you could miss the opportunities to get funded. Like Aaron is building relationships and, getting sponsors, getting to the money that she needs to build her business, and, getting face to face with people goes a long way. And I would just encourage people to learn the business, like just learn, tap into our sessions, tap into this podcast. It's just annoying when I see complaints about, "Well, I didn't know this, and people don't tell me this." And there's just so many people dropping gems right now.
Yeah, where's the accountability? That's my thing. Where's the accountability? I think that's the stark contrast. Me looking at young people and seeing all the amazing stuff they're doing as though it's second nature, and then seeing the adults who are like, "Well, I didn't know that was an option." Learn about it.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, just people just want, like, pursuing a career in music and being successful is very difficult. And if you don't make it, you just want an excuse that wasn't your fault, right? So that it doesn't land on your shoulders. So you almost don't want the information or don't want access to it, because if you have it, now you are accountable for, your own success. So sometimes you want those blinders on. But anyway, I wanted to
Well, when is that ever an excuse for life? That's my question. Like if you don't know the speed limit and you speed, you can't tell the police officer, I didn't know the speed limit. He's like, the information was available for you to get that. You're still getting a ticket. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, in what area of life does that, if you have a job, well, I didn't know how to do that. They would have been like, you should have found somebody or talked to your manager. Do you know? It's just like,
But it happens
like,
every
y'all
day.
Can pretend. Yeah, y'all can pretend, but it's like you're not cut out to do anything. A parent, there's no guide on being a parent. Do you know what I'm saying? And half y'all mofos got kids and figured it out. Like, you could be great or terrible, but you figure it out. Like, that's just such a music industry. Like, there's all the weakest excuses come out. I'm like, bro, nobody asked you to be here, but that's it. Whatever.
Well, I think that's key. And then I don't know. It's just everything. The kids thing bothers me too, because it's like you made that child, just like it, which is way more serious than a music career, but analogous in the sense that you don't have to make music as a career. So stop bitching all the goddamn time. Again, you chose to be here, and if you're going to choose to be here and be a loud complainer and a low performer, what is the point? You're just occupying space. And it's not about us, it's about you. You're wasting your time. With the parent thing, that bothers me because you're actually affecting another human life. And then people act like, I had this conversation recently with like all these people. I remember the era when all my friends started having kids, like mad young, and they're like, I don't know how it happened. I'm like, but did you ejaculate in a woman?
All right.
I don't know.
Payne's parenting podcast coming soon. I wanted to talk about Latto. She's currently on a nationwide tour, killing it. But she had some ignorant people on Twitter responding to a video of one of her performances where, in my opinion, she's killing it. But basically somebody responded commenting on the size of the stage. Because I think people, especially when you go to these festivals, right? You go to these festivals, you see artists performing in front of tens of thousands of people. But these artists, most of those artists at Rolling Loud probably can't get 500 people in a room or 300 people in a room. I'm not talking about the people at the top. I'm talking about like all those artists that are kind of at the bottom of the flyer. And I don't think people realize how difficult it is to become a nationwide touring act. If you can tour the country and get 20, 30, 40 people in a room, you're in the top 10% of artists anywhere. Like, it's very difficult to get people to come out of their house, pay money, maybe get a babysitter. We talked about this before, but like, it's very difficult to get people to come out of the house and pay money to see you perform. Latto's doing 1,000 to 3,000 people a night. So her response was, everybody starts somewhere. I'm selling out 1,000 to 3,000 capacity venues on my first tour, doing an hour-long set with amazing breath control and choreo. I came a long way. I counteract everything y'all say too, by the way. Watch the next tour. Now, some people might even clown her for saying, why is she talking about amazing choreo and breath control? But if you're in this business, like, that's exactly what you should be doing, right? Like, it looks like she's killing it on stage. To me, I'm like, she's putting on a great show. People are definitely coming back. Next time it's going to be 5,000 to 10,000 for sure. So it's just, obviously the fans don't know how this works. And I think most artists don't know how this works. So shout out to Latto for doing it the right way, putting on an amazing show every single night, having props on stage. Her and Saucy Santana were turning it up. I'm sure everybody in that venue is having the time of their life. They're going to remember that experience for the rest of their life. And I just think it's unfortunate that fans that are ignorant when it comes to the music industry always have something to say. it's never going to stop. I get that. But touring is hard, and Latto is doing an amazing job. You know, if you're doing 1 to 3,000 people a night, you know, that's good money. She's probably making an extra 10 to 20,000 in merch, if that's how many people are showing up, maybe even more, depending on how much, you know, she focuses on merch. But yeah, Aaron, in terms of your touring experience, I mean, I know you're going to think along the same lines as me, because we have touring experience, but what are your thoughts on that exchange?
She's killing it. People love to hate on Black women. She's killing it. And I do feel like this is a Black woman thing, because if you guys look at most rappers, especially coming out of Atlanta, a lot of those dudes can only do club dates where there's a guaranteed crowd and they hop on stage and do a few songs, or they're doing Rolling Loud. And again, no disrespect to Rolling Loud, but that's a package tour. People are coming all day really to see the headliners and to check out new talent. But had they been there like by themselves, people wouldn't have been there. But she sold... Y'all don't understand this. If on average she's selling a $25 ticket and she's selling out 1,000 cap venue, she's living. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it took Nicki Minaj forever to really tour when she came out, because she was a woman and men weren't taking her really to open. Some guys were. Her label was getting her stuff, but that's a whole nother thing in this industry that people don't realize, especially hip hop artists. Men don't take the women out. Men will take women out if the label requires it or if they buy onto a tour. So that's one thing. Women don't have the opportunity to build their touring just like guys do, because they don't have a guy taking them out. And you can ask anybody. This isn't just me biased as a woman talking about it. Talk to guys. Like, this is a thing that happens. So not only is she headlining, she doesn't have any number ones right now, y'all, like none. She's on and off of the radio. So she's not even a consistent radio person. She's taking dancers. She's taking a support artist. Shout out to Saucy Santana with Walk. Like, Saucy Santana has been pushing Walk for 2 years, you know, and now they're on tour. And like you said, people are having the time of their life, but it is so difficult to sell that well. Like, it's so difficult to sell out 1,000 to 3,000 cap venues nationwide. She's not even doing just a regional. She's not even just like, oh, I'm from Atlanta, so I'm gonna do the Southeast. She's doing a nationwide tour, killing it. And again, choreo and breath control. My favorite performance at South by was Ashanti, because after 20 years, this woman was dancing, singing, no auto-tune. And I was like, what? Like, crazy. Most people can't do that. I know men who are only rapping who cannot. I saw some this week. They can't even rap their verses. They can't even get to the hook without being out of breath. So like, she's upping the ante, living up to an incredible standard. Go Latto. Shout out to you. Shout out to Atlanta. Shout out to women in this industry. Like, only somebody who's not doing anything significant with their life would have any type of shit to say about a woman who's out on her own tour, headlining and killing it and providing joy and an opportunity for other women to see themselves and to win. So all the people hating, y'all got more issues to deal with, clearly, because there's no reason. She's selling out. It's not even like 300 or 400 people are coming, which is still an incredible feat. She's selling out. I got nothing but love for Latto.
In response to that, to your assertion that it's a Black woman thing. Number one, we had a similar conversation, I think before you even joined the podcast, about Coi Leray. It was the same. I don't want to say it was the same thing. It was similar. People were clowning her tour. I haven't heard this about a male artist. Number two, she did do Rolling Loud and it was packed. So no one's talking about that. No one's grouping her in the category as every other artist that was successful at Rolling Loud. Number three, and I don't know if she revealed the artist who was trying to basically blackmail her for sex with a verse clearance, but that happened, and I'm happy she's talking about it, because for sure not the only time that's happened, and it's not the last time it's going to happen. I had another point and I forgot what it was, but the fact of the matter is, yeah, she doesn't have a number one, and she has 2 platinum and 1 gold, and none of them have been number ones. So I don't even know what can be said, because it's just the nature of stupid people. I'll have someone with an anonymous Twitter profile and 3 followers say, "Oh, well, you don't even have that many followers. You only got 65,000. Well, you ain't shit. You must be broke." And now you got people saying Latto is flopping because she's only selling out, 2,000 capacity venues and has 3 RIAA certified singles. People will weaponize anything just to cut someone else down. And yeah, unfortunately, it's female artists and Black women that are the ones on the receiving end of that consistently. And yeah, fuck those people.
With touring though, I mean, it's not about being on the radio and having number ones. I mean, obviously that helps, but it just goes back to the community that you build. Like, you can tour if people have to really be invested in you as an artist, again, to get them to come out of the house. So a lot of time people with radio hits and number one still can't tour because there's no connection to the artist. It's like, I love the song, but that's kind of where it stops. So that's why we talk about community so much, because those are the type of things that get unlocked when you have like a strong community. You can tour for a long time. Like, if you have that, you can tour. So that can be a revenue stream and an option for you for a long time, if that's how tight your community is. So, radio, everybody would love to be on the radio. It definitely helps. But there's a lot of artists out there touring that don't have radio, and it's less important these days than it was. It's less important today than it was 15, 20 years ago. So I know a lot of artists that would love to tour. Like, that's their dream. They want to perform their music in front of fans and, do their thing. But it's a very difficult place to get to. So again, shout out Latto. So, well,
and it's the journey too, because she's been doing this since she was a little kid.
She was on that show, right?
Yeah, at age 14. So I mean, we're seeing, because what is she now? 20 something?
She gotta be older than that. She was on that show a long ass time ago.
She's like 22, 23.
Yeah, so we're seeing an almost decade long journey. It's just people that don't know anything speaking on it, which is what happens in all things. I mean, I can't imagine how it is with sports. You got to deal with someone who's, you're training every damn day, just exhausting yourself mentally and physically and pushing yourselves to the limits to play on this team, when you got somebody who's got like 16 hot dogs stuffed down their throat while trying to guzzle a beer, talking about, oh, I could do that. Music is the same way. You have so many people that are armchair, superstars, or like, oh, Latto, 3,000 capacity. Okay, sure. Yeah, you guys win. You think the second that you have 50,000 views on YouTube, suddenly you're doing arenas? Just people's immaturity with regards to the real world, especially what Dame considers the sexy industries like music and sports and entertainment, is infantile. It's childlike. I don't. Yeah.
And going back to what you said about the rap game, I'm on her wiki right now. So she's 23 as of December, right? She did it in 2016. I don't know many rappers that have lasted that long. And then also being on a TV show, everybody tries to make it a gimmick thing, you know? Like, how many other rappers are on the rap game that aren't doing anything right now, right? So for her to be a Black woman from the south side of Atlanta, she's from Riverdale, which is where I'm from, so I'm a huge Latto fan, but she's got bars for days. I know y'all saw her, what was on Daily Leakers, whatever, where she went. That's another thing. People were like, well, she was young, she just got hot because she was cute. No, she had her own store. She was moving so many units out of her store on a regular basis. They were selling out and couldn't get people couldn't buy for like a week at a time. So she had to shut her store down because it was inefficient. Like, she's a businesswoman, you know? And now she got signed by RCA in 2020 during the pandemic. Worked. First time she has the opportunity to tour, she's out on the road. I know artists who were big before the pandemic who can't tour right now, right? Like, no disrespect, but like Dave East tour just got canceled because they can't move no tickets. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's talking about Dave East. Dave East was playing 500 cap venues because they were asking us to provide openers. This is no disrespect, but I'm saying, like, just in perspective, like, I don't see nobody saying nothing about Dave East. You know, like, Latto's doing her thing. Like,
And
screw
we
everybody
shouldn't
who's
clown
ahead.
Davies either for that. It's just people.
Yeah, not at all.
Touring is hard, man. Like, that shit will make you break down in tears. Driving 10 hours a day to play, you know, a 200 capacity venue, and you got 25 people in there. The promoter's trying to play you. You got to stay in a little ass hotel with broken glass, and the police are already there because I guess it's a meth center. Like, I'm speaking from experience. I've lived this many years, obviously, because I'm painting a pretty vivid picture. I'm not going to say the city, Albuquerque, but it's tough. And to get through that, just honestly, and I know no one's going to, you know, go out and say, oh yeah, this changed my perspective. I'm going to tour and experience it, so I know what I'm talking about before I criticize other people. But I'm telling you from experience, it's tough. And just touring, especially your first, second, third tour, breaking even on a tour is a miracle. Like, you get down on your knees and you thank the universe at the end of a tour, an early tour where you break even. And the fact that I've been able to make money on multiple tours, not six figures, but, you know, thousands of dollars here and there, and in the new markets, it was just such an amazing thing. So I appreciate it at all levels because I've been there. I've been on the couches. I've been sleeping in cars by the side of the highway. I've seen legends doing the same thing, humbling themselves to do the same thing. So yeah, I respect anybody's touring, especially if they're able to build community without any kind of external privileges the way that, you know, maybe a major artist does. Again, though, to Aaron's point, you have major artists, you have multi-platinum artists, you have artists with hits that aren't touring at the capacity that even artists that have never been on like some of the strange music artists, their tours are amazing. It's about their community that they built. It has nothing to do with these external factors and the clout that we like to throw around and associate with typically successful tours. It's just hilarious and actually surprising at this point in 2022 how little people know about the music business, given all the transparency that musicians in the business are putting out. But that's another conversation.
So I know a lot of people that do invest in touring. Like, we fortunately never lost, like we never lost money on a tour. However, you have to, like, the time and the energy invested in the touring, you have to really want to do it, because you could make more money investing that same time and energy into something else, at least in the beginning, right? Like, our first tour, we made money, but if we were working on music, working on merch, like, we probably could have made more money investing that same time and energy into something else. So it's something that you really have to know you want to be a long part of your career, because even when you go out, it's going to be a very frustrating experience, because you're probably going to get more love online. Like when you post, you probably get 10,000 likes, like 20,000 likes. But then when you go to a show, there might only be like 100, 200 people in there. And you have to build up the energy to still put on an amazing show so that 200 turns into 400 next time. And then the 1,000, then 2,000. Like you're going to have to face the reality. In some rooms, it's not going to be a crazy amount of people in the early days, but you still have to put out an amazing performance. And that's a tough thing to do on a night in, night out basis. So that's some of the reality of touring. I know we took up a lot of the time talking about that, but did you guys want to transition into something else?
Well, let's talk about what Ashanti announced at South by, because I wasn't there. That sounds pretty amazing.
I feel like it's not a full announcement yet, so I want to be careful what I say, but she was on stage at her panel and they basically just started talking about ownership. Her mom is her manager, which I didn't know. So she's been in it with her the whole time. And they were just talking and her mom was like, tell him you own your masters. And so the conversation shifted, which I love. And she was like, I own my masters. I have them back after 20 years. So she's one of the people who got the reverted masters back after what the labels are doing right now. And she's taking her masters and partnering. She co-owns now EQ Exchange with Janice. What is Janice's last name? I don't remember her name.
Taylor.
Janice Taylor. So she's now one of the owners and investors. If I'm not mistaken, she's the first Black woman to own an NFT company in Web3. So that in and of itself is a big accomplishment. But they didn't make a formal announcement of what songs and how, whatever, but we are under the impression from the panel that she's re-releasing her catalog through EQ Exchange, which is an NFT platform. They have a different name for NFTs. They call them something, mutually exchangeable assets, something. They changed the name, but essentially it's what the industry calls an NFT. She's turning her music into that because she owns the masters and she's passing on some of the royalties to the fans who are streaming her music. So I think that's incredible. That's a big move, one for an artist that's lasted this long. I didn't realize how extensively she still tours, which is actually incredible. She put on one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. That's not an exaggeration. Her band was phenomenal. Her dancers were phenomenal. She was a phenomenal dancer and singer, but I think she's doing the right thing by moving over into something that as a legacy artist, she can see a future in, even if it's not a huge insurmountable amount of money. That's like, oh my God, I just got this incredible offer. She moved for her own ownership and I super support that.
Damn, she is not aging at all.
At all. Like I saw her really close. Like I was looking at her pores. Like, y'all, she has not aged. She's fit. She's gorgeous. She has a beautiful personality. I'm just like loving that Ashanti is winning personally. Like, shout out to another thriving Black woman. I'm just such a fan. And she killed it, y'all. She killed it.
I'm sorry. I'm reading this article and I just see this other related article and it says we're gonna get an unreleased Prince album. So that was exciting to me. Yeah, I didn't know that. It's called Camille. You heard it first here. Breaking news. Not really, but so Ashanti actually announced that she was getting her masters back last year, and they're kind of relating it to Taylor Swift, which isn't the same thing at all because Taylor Swift did not get her masters back. But this is why I get frustrated by popular media, because now they're conflating masters with underlying composition, and that's, I think, probably the number one point of confusion in the music business for everybody.
That may actually be what happened to Ashanti, though, because she said she's going to re-record everything. So that was my question. But that's why I said I don't have a ton of information because they didn't fully announce it.
And I would be surprised if Irv doesn't seem like that, because I'm sure Irv owns at least 50%, if not all of the masters. You
don't think he sold them by now?
I don't know. But if he still holds them, I'd be surprised if he was just like, here you go. Like, I don't know him, but just from the interviews that I've seen, like, he doesn't seem like, and the fact that it doesn't seem like he has much going on right now. Like, I don't.
No, I don't think I don't think it was a case of reversion. I think she fought to get them. That's what the article's kind of implying, that she was fighting to get them back, a la Taylor Swift, which again, you're conflating two things because Taylor Swift didn't get her master's back. Everything you need to know about the music business, you can learn from the Taylor Swift situation if you study it. People aren't studying it. They're just like, oh, she got her master's back. No, she didn't. She used intellectual property law specific to the music business to do something smart. Ashanti may be doing the same thing, but the article does say specifically she got her master's back. So I don't know why she would want to re-record her self-titled album, but maybe it's just because, hey, I have everything now. I have 100% control. So I'm going to do it a different way and make some money that way. Which I think makes sense because you probably don't want to have to renegotiate everything from. I think it's probably easier to record a new album or to re-record your old album than it is to get everything situated from that particular album and try to re-release it under your imprint with your ownership. So I can see why she would do that. But on the flip side of this, not even the flip side, related to this, last month, February 1st, Warner Music Group announced that they will be scrapping any unrecouped debt for artists who signed to the label before the year 2000, which is big. But apparently before that, and I didn't even know about this, last year Sony announced that they would start paying royalties from streaming and other revenue streams to thousands of artists who signed deals with the label before 2000 and still didn't recoup their advances. Also kind of a big deal. There are some small changes being made, but again, these are legacy artists. And I think, Aaron, you brought up the point that because it's not affecting new artists and because this is kind of more confusing stuff for the average consumer, that this wasn't bigger news. So I guess it's not. I initially thought this was some kind of master reversion, but it's not. So it's more just forgiveness for unrecouped master royalties from the labels. And it doesn't, from all the articles that I read, this sounds like it's just on the master side, just for the record labels, not their publishing counterparts, because it gets confusing because Sony has a publishing company, Warner has a publishing company, Warner Chappell, Universal does too. So a lot of people are like, well, it's all the same thing, and it's not the same thing. It's actually incredibly different, and to me that's the crux of the music industry. If you learn how those two rights operate and how they relate and how they are different, then you really understand the core of the music business and you can really move forward. Obviously, NFTs kind of change things. NFTs are disruptive in the sense that, as we saw with Latasha, that's totally outside of those two intellectual property concepts. With Nas, it relates. With Nas, it was underlying composition bundled up into the NFT. So if the terms are weird, then that just goes to show people what they need to do research on. Goes back to the self-directed learning thing.
Aaron, just going back to the South by, obviously, I'm sure there was a lot of talk about NFTs. Did you go to Latasha's event?
No, I couldn't get any details on it, so I didn't go. But there was a ton of talk on NFTs. There was a ton of misinformation too. It was a lot of, I stopped going to them a couple of days in because it was just like crypto bros who were trying to, again, make it seem like this is everything. And then there were some people who you could tell, evidently didn't understand what was going on, but they're pushing this thing that everybody's telling them. So, and then there were some people who were just, it was mostly misinformation / people hedging their bets, in my opinion. And then there were some people that were like, Web3 is the future. We need to figure out how to move into it. And they were showing us like more functionality for NFTs. But yeah, there was a ton of
it's just people screaming Web3 is the future. Like, let's figure this out. Like, as opposed to like, this is how Web3 is the future. It's just people screaming Web3 is the future. And again, for the millionth time, I'm not a non-believer, but it's like more people just screaming that NFT and Web3s are the future. But then the next sentence is, let's figure this out. Like, it should have been figured out. And that's why you're telling me this is the future. Like, it should go that way. But yeah,
I'll say there was not much information on NFTs at South by Southwest, but there were NFTs everywhere. Like half the parties, because I came in for half of Tech Week and then music. So honestly, Music Week, there wasn't a ton of talk about NFTs. It was mostly the tech track, but it was mostly like a crypto bros circle jerk, to be honest. It was not really anything that was beneficial it was like almost like people were talking in code, and I could tell that half of them didn't know the code. They just knew the secret words,
That's what's so frustrating about the conversation, because as a creative, as a musician, I want a solution. I want solutions. I'm not resisting NFTs at all. I just want the solutions.
And but the solution to what, though? Like the solution to what? The solution to a career is put in the fucking work. That's the solution. Like that. But that's the thing, though. We're just talking about. We're just yelling NFT this, and they're the solution. They're the game changer. Like, to what?
Well, blockchain for, contracts, blockchain for timely payments, ownership, proof of ownership, splits, proof of splits. All of that stuff, huge problem with the online beat selling space is PayPal chargebacks and just payment processing in general, because internationally it's hard to accept payments in various countries. And especially now, there are people who want to buy beats and sell beats in Russia, for example, or Ukraine, and all of that shut down, or it's being affected by what's going on. So, crypto could create some kind of mechanism that would address that and prevent these kinds of issues. But where are the solutions? Again, like you're saying, Dave, I'm not hearing the specific solutions. Here's the infrastructure. Here's how we implement it. Here's how it's in a practical way going to benefit you now. Here's the timeline. We're still at the, you just don't get it. You're going to get left behind because you don't get it stage. And it's like, no, I actually live and breathe this. So explain it to me. I will get it if you can explain it.
But everything that you just said, even Abe told me that they're working on a payment solution that is worldwide for people in different countries, and it's not Web3 based. But everything that you just said, the transparency, everything, we have technology prior to Web3 that could have solved those problems. It's not about not having the technology. That's what people don't understand. That's not about not having the technology. There are people in the industry of influence, companies of influence, that you're going to have to incentivize to use the technology. They have to want it to be more transparent. They have to want it to be faster, right? We could have solved that shit a long time ago if everybody wanted it to be. Like, that's the thing for me about, when people bring up, oh, we need more transparency. You think we didn't have the ability to make payments faster 15 years ago? Like, we have Venmo, we have all types of shit right now. That's not the problem. It's frustrating talking to these people because they'll just keep tweeting out like, we need more music NFTs. It's like, why?
But none of those people understand the music business.
Yeah,
that's the issue. I think that's the disconnect, is that And that's the disconnect for me. Crypto bros talking about this is the future. I'm like, you have different problems than I have. So like, give me a solution for my problem. But then they don't know it. They're like, well, I'm like, well, it's like, I can explain to you what I'm doing, but you can't explain to me what you're doing. I feel like fundamentally this is a scam. And I'm not saying NFTs are a scam. I'm just saying a lot of these crypto bros are scamming.
Not across the board, but a lot of these people have a financial interest in these platforms or financial interest in these particular coins that they just want to see rise in value, and then they're probably going to dump as soon as enough people were convinced that they should hop on this train, right? So anyway, we're about to be labeled as haters in a second, so let's.
But I would love to embrace any NFT opportunity, any chance to learn anything, because I'm seeing that it's working for people. Again, having conversations with people like Latasha, with people like Illmind, where I trust their music business experience and commitment. There's no way they don't know what they're talking about. And when I have conversations with them, it makes total sense because they can articulate it all based on the language that I speak. It's just a matter of other people not being able to get there. They're either, on the one hand, they have good intentions and they understand the technology, but not how it applies to us, because the music business is unique in so many ways. And on the other hand, there's the more exploitative approach where, people might just be trying to get someone to flock to a certain coin or a certain platform because they have a financial incentive.
Well, Illmind's doing it the right way, right? Like he's built a community, getting his tokens gives you access to certain things. He's built out his digital world, and he was, I don't know if he was the first producer in the space, but he definitely was one of the first movers, and really kind of claimed that title early, and started building things out. So I think that's different. And I think I saw a video that he posted on Instagram that kind of gave us a window into the world that he built, that you get access to once you buy maybe one of his coins, or I think it's something of Knights, or I forget what it's called, but it's pretty much like the MEC in a digital world, but just more hands-on and so maybe we should have done something like that early on. But even Donald Glover was talking about at South by, kind of the experiences you can now create using NFTs. Not like, hey, NFTs are going to be worth $1 billion, but you can create a different type of experience for your fans. And that's the kind of what I've been interested in, so that's kind of cool. But here we go again down the damn NFT wormhole. So let me do us all a favor then. Appreciate you tuning in. Our free, this is not Web3. This is live in Web2. Our free music business mentorship program meets twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't need any kind of special technology to access it. Just log on to www.beatstars.live. And, with a simple mobile device, you can get alerted every time we go live. Dame, let them know how that goes down. All you got to do is text MEC to 844-206-7800. You'll get an alert right before we go live. Tap into our sessions. We always have dope sessions on Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific at beatstars.live.
Appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Peace.
Peace.